Good afternoon from Naples, Florida, and we are here today on the fly, actually. This is Revelation to the Nations from the Nations. What does that mean? Well, you know what our Revelation to the Nations program is, where we typically interview the leaders of messianic ministries and congregations in Israel and connect them to the body of believers outside Israel. Well, Devorah and I are outside of Israel now, and we happen to be sitting with Pastor Rick Baldwin and his wife, Debbie. Okay? And Debbie has just shown us a little bit about her history, and she happens to have some Iberian Peninsula history, so there's some real connectivity going on here. But today we're just going to talk for a few minutes and get to know Pastor Rick and Debbie, and they've invited us to speak to their congregation, so obviously they have a heart for Israel. And that's what we're trying to do when we go outside Israel, is find folks that have a heart for Israel. Clearly they do. So, Pastor, why don't you tell us a little bit about your church and how you came to have a love for Israel and what have you. Share a little bit with our audience.
Well, we've been here in Naples for approximately 6 years, a little over that. And but we've been a part of the Assemblies of God for 30 plus years. That's how I came to know Christ, was through the Assemblies of God. But one of the things is that as you come to Christ, you have to realize that that is a Jewish heritage. And my faith is a result of what God has done through the nation of Israel down through time and currently. So it's only appropriate to try to find ways to bless the people in the nation of Israel.
Amen. Amen. Well, the name of our ministry is called Bless Israel Network.
That's right.
And what we're trying to do is form a network of people and congregations, whether they're Christian churches or Messianic congregations that want to bless Israel. Okay, so here we are back again with Pastor Rick and Debbie Baldwin. And Debbie, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background? You kind of have that Iberian Peninsula flavor coming, huh?
Yes. Recently, through doing some background search through Ancestry, I found out that I have actually a Sephardic connection with the Jewish lineage. And I always had a love for Jewish people and Jewish culture, the even the dancing that I would see them do. And it made sense that I actually have the roots in me. So, you know, there was always that love. And even before I realized I had a cultural background, through the Bible, like my husband said, it was always very important that we recognize the Jewish people are the apple of God's eyes.
Amen. That's right.
Well, being the only Jew in the room, technically speaking, okay, at least as far as my entire life is concerned, as opposed to being found out later like y'all did, that's music to my ears, okay, for sure. But it's wonderful because when you leave Israel, for those of you who don't know that, it's very difficult to find a Christian church and a Christian leadership that has a heart for Israel. The overwhelming majority of Christian leadership all around the world believes in replacement theology. And that is that the Jews rejected Jesus, and therefore God rejected the Jews, and they got replaced by the church. Well, these good folks sitting right here are part of that very precious minority that realize that there's no theological basis for that whatsoever. In fact, Shaul says in Romans 11, did God reject his own people? May it never be.
Amen.
Okay?
Very
So,
true.
amen. So tell us, I know you haven't been to Israel, but do you have plans to come to Israel?
I would love to go to Israel. And
You're
so would
on,
my husband.
you've been recorded, okay?
My parents have been there, and they said they've traveled, and they said that is the most beautiful place they've ever been, and it definitely pretty much rocked their world when they saw the Bible come to life before their very eyes.
We lived all of our lives in California until God called us, and we've been in Israel now since 2011. And it is a paradigm shift in many, many different ways, but after a while you kind of have to pinch yourself when you're driving down the highway and you see road signs that say Nazareth 23 miles, Bethlehem 6, so it's a bit of a paradigm shift.
And whenever we drive up to Jerusalem. You know, it's still a thrill after 7 years. It's
Right.
still a thrill, and we try to get out if we can. The drivers are pretty crazy, but we try to get out the Psalms and, you know, read some of the Psalms of Ascent, and
Indeed.
it's very
indeed.
special.
So tell me, you've been kind enough to invite us here to present our ministry with your congregation, and it's a privilege, and we certainly do appreciate that very much. Do you have any thoughts or hopes as to if the folks take a liking to what our ministry is doing and want to get connected, what you guys might think about doing in terms of getting yourselves as individuals or getting the church as a body connected
Well,
to
connected
Israel?
to Israel.
Have you thought about that?
Yes, we've prayed a lot about where and who to connect with, because it's a matter of investing in the people of Israel. It's a matter of investing in the ministries that are there loving the people in practical ways, but also they're sharing the gospel of Christ, the Messiah, who came not only for us as Gentiles, but especially he came for the people
That's right.
of Israel. And he loves them and he cares for them. And so to find someone that we can connect with that's doing that type of ministry would be very important to me, to know that we're actually helping in those venues where, one, the practical love of Christ is being shown through practical ways, as well as the gospel, the good news that the Messiah has come, and he's come with the intention to save, not to condemn, but to bring life and hope
Exactly.
to the people of Israel.
The good news for the Jews.
Yes, amen.
Exactly.
Amen.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful, and the heart of why God put it on our heart, we believe, to form Bless Israel Network and do the program Revelation to the Nations, is specifically to give Gentiles and Messianic believers outside Israel a chance to make personal
Exactly.
connections with the body of believers in Israel, so they can not only bless each other, but the end goal, if you connect all the dots with what our ministry is really doing and focused on, is to help bring more Jews in Israel to faith in Jesus Yeshua. Because the blessing that comes from the believers outside the land to the believers inside the land, they take that blessing and they use that to increase their humanitarian outreach work, and it always includes sharing the gospel. So that is the tangible aspect of why we put together Bless Israel Network. So it's wonderful that you have a passion for that. So I guess the next question is, are you looking for tickets to come?
We would love
Yes.
to come to Israel
Yeah.
and to be there and to walk in those places and see the historical places, and there's just so much there to take in. I would just love to be able to go and see the people, and in traveling, we've traveled a lot, but one of the things, all the areas of the world is beautiful. Everywhere you go, to me, I see the creation that God has made is amazing. But the other amazing thing is meeting the people and
Yeah.
seeing
Yeah.
them in their
The
own,
culture.
in their culture, and the places they live, and the interaction with people. That also is invaluable, to be able to experience life with them in their own land.
Yes.
So yeah, we would love to get to come.
So
there.
what most people do, as you know, is they go on a tour, and that
Right.
doesn't happen as much. So if you ever do a tour, then just make sure you leave some extra time. You come and see us, and we'll take you to Jewish holy sites, which of course are in the Bible,
Right.
and hopefully help you get connected to some of the local people
Tours are
and
great
experience that.
if you've never been before.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, if
They
you've
have-
never
have a
been,
good
they
purpose.
really serve a purpose.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The flip side of it is you don't have any time to exhale.
Yeah.
You literally get off the plane, you go right to the hotel, 7 o'clock the next morning, you're at the front desk and you're on the bus and you're off and running. No jet lag recovery time. You have an advantage over people living in California because you're on the East Coast, so there's
Right.
3 hours that you got on them, but a lot of ground gets covered. So I will say this on camera. If you do decide to come and take a tour, we invite you personally to come take an extra 4, 5, 6 days you're invited to come and stay
Yeah,
with us
absolutely.
at our home.
Well, thank you.
Okay,
Thank
and
you.
we would be more than happy to host you, and you could relax a little bit, have some home cooked food, and you won't have to be at the front desk at 7 in the morning getting on the bus. So you're more than welcome
Yeah.
to do that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
indeed.
that.
We hope to be able to take you up on that.
Yeah, we
Yes.
hope so too.
Yes, indeed. Well, what we're doing, just so you folks watching understand, is we are trying to make connections here in the United States with individuals, organizations, ministries, and churches and congregations that have a heart for Israel. And right now, we're in Naples, Florida, and this is the Golden Gate Assembly of God, Pastor Rick and Debbie Baldwin, and we just want everyone watching to know that if you're ever in Florida, especially going towards the south, and make sure you get that last exit, because if you miss the last exit on I-75, you got 50 miles to go before you get to the next gas station.
Through
You're on-
the Everglades.
Right, you're on the way to Miami, so you got to make sure you get that last exit. But for
Come
those
and
of you that
visit.
have a heart for Israel, please come to Golden Gate Assembly of God in Naples, Florida, and say a special hello to Pastor Rick, and that you saw him on our program and that you want to get connected with him. Thanks so much for your time, everyone. God bless you. Again, this is Daniel and Devorah with Revelation to the Nations from the nations, and saying shalom to
Shalom
both.
from Naples, Florida.
Yeah.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.